Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're going to get into a massive technological revolution. I mean, it's happening right at the heart of global finance.
It really is. We're talking about institutions investing not just millions, but billions of dollars.
Billions. One major bank we're looking at has an $18 billion annual technology budget.
And a huge chunk of that is going toward a fundamental rewiring of the bank using generative and, this is the key part, agentic AI.
Agentic AI, that's the figure that should stop you in your tracks, right?
Absolutely. Because when we say agentic, we're talking about autonomous systems. These are, software agents that can operate on their own, chase goals, and handle multiple tasks without a human constantly looking over their shoulder.
So this is way beyond just a simple chatbot.
Oh, miles beyond.
And the stakes are just monumental. Our mission today is to do a deep dive into the insights from Derek Waldron, a bank's chief analytics officer, and also Kevin Bueller, a senior partner at McKinsey. We want to really understand what an AI-first bank culture actually looks like.
And what it means for the entire financial industry, economically speaking. We're going to explore how they rolled out their own AI platform to, nearly 250,000 people?
Yeah, and the strategy behind capturing value from it, and a huge forecast that suggests up to $700 billion in potential savings for the industry.
It's a story about tech, for sure, but I think it's even more a story about cultural and organizational transformation.
Let's start there with the on-the-ground reality. So JP Morgan Chase puts this powerful technology right into the hands of their employees. They built a platform called the LLM Suite.
Right. And the whole philosophy behind it is democratization.
What do you mean by that?
The idea is you trust your employees, you give them the tools, and they will be the ones that innovate.
It's a huge bet on distributed innovation, then.
It is. The LLM Suite is their own in-house platform. It's built on top of the big third-party language models you've heard of, but it's all customized and, crucially, secured for a financial environment.
And they were the first major bank to really do this at scale.
They were. And the speed of adoption has been, pretty much unprecedented, especially for such a regulated industry.
So give us the numbers on that. How fast did this really become part of the daily grind?
I mean, it's pretty staggering. Within months of the main rollout in 2024, you're looking at nearly 250,000 people with access.
250,000.
But the usage number is what really tells the story. Right now, a little under half of all JPMC employees are using these Gen AI tools every single day.
Every day. That's not a pilot program anymore. That's a real cultural shift.
It is.
But that speed, it's surprising. In a world where compliance and data security are everything, how did they get such fast, widespread adoption without, forcing it on people?
And that's the absolute key to the change management here. They didn't rush it. They spent a huge amount of time focused on all the data security, the risk, the control issues before it ever went live.
So they built the sandbox first.
Exactly. And then they made adoption opt-in. It was a choice, not a mandate. And that created this healthy social dynamic.
A fear of missing out.
A huge fear of missing out. People saw their colleagues getting work done faster, finding new capacity, getting these early wins. That FOMO became the engine for scaling it organically.
So what were those early wins? What were the specific use cases that got people so interested?
They say it's being used in tens of thousands of ways, but you see these common themes pop up. Speed and synthesis, mostly.
Okay, like what?
Think about the legal department. You have lawyers who can now scan, read, and even generate parts of enormous contracts in a fraction of the time.
And credit professionals.
Same thing. They can pull critical information, compare covenants in a loan against market standards, all in seconds. Even frontline bankers are using it to boil down complex info into a quick briefing memo before they walk into a meeting.
It sounds like a massive productivity boost for individuals. But you said the platform is more than just a chatbot now. How has it evolved into this AI-first system?
It's moved way beyond a simple Q&A tool. It's a full ecosystem now. The vision is all about connectivity. The intelligence of the LLM Suite is powerful, but its real strength is being plugged into the firm's entire knowledge base.
So team systems, data repositories, everything.
Everything. Team systems, firm-wide data, existing apps, analytical tools. The goal isn't just to write an email for you. It's to weave that AI intelligence into the entire tech stack, making it a real partner in doing analysis and reporting.
Okay, so once the tools are out there and people are actually using them, the big challenge becomes how do you capture that value at a corporate level? The bank developed what they call a two-pillar strategy for this.
Right. And they did this because the executives realized that you can't get to massive structural change just from individual bottom-up innovation alone. You need both.
A dual approach.
A dual approach. So
Mhm.
pillar one is what they call the top-down reimagination. This is where central leadership picks a few really big domains.
Ah.
Things like credit underwriting, fraud detection, marketing, huge operational workflows, areas where the potential for transformation is just enormous.
And why do you need that big centralized push for those areas specifically?
Because if your goal is something like an 80% reduction in response time or a 50% cost reduction,
Yeah.
you have to completely re-engineer the entire workflow from end to end.
You can't just tweak.
You have to tear down the old process and build a new one. And that's something that can only happen with strategic top-level support. That's where you find the big cost savings.
And pillar two, the bottom-up approach, is the other side of the coin. That's about empowering all those employees we were just talking about.
That's it. Pillar two is giving people powerful self-service tools and just letting them loose on their daily tasks. This is absolutely critical for tackling what they call the enormous tail of work.
All the small stuff.
All the small, decentralized tasks that would never, ever get prioritized for a major re-engineering project.
So what's the real difference in the value they get from each pillar? I assume they both make people more productive.
They do, but the outcomes are different. The bottom-up self-service approach creates huge productivity gains, for sure. It builds organizational capacity, which gives you operating leverage. The challenge is that individual productivity doesn't automatically translate into hard cost takeout.
What do you mean?
Well, if an employee saves 10 minutes on 6 different tasks during their day, that's an hour saved. But they might just use that hour for higher value work, or the bottleneck in their process just moves somewhere else. The headcount doesn't change.
Ah, I see. So that's the core insight. Real hard dollar cost cutting requires that top-down re-engineering, where you're eliminating entire steps or even roles. The bottom-up stuff creates breathing room, but not necessarily immediate cost cuts.
Exactly. But you need both. And it seems to be working. The bank reported that the gross benefit they're getting from their AI efforts is growing at about 30 to 40% per year. You need both pillars.
Okay, let's zoom out. Let's move from one bank's internal story to what all this means for the entire global banking sector. The McKinsey analysis points to a really profound shift in the economics of the industry.
The scale is just immense. I mean, global banking generated $1.2 trillion in profits in 2024. The key metric they all watch is return on tangible equity, or OT.
Basically, how efficiently they use their money.
Right. And in 2024, that was around 10.3%. And we also know the industry as a whole spends about $600 billion a year on technology.
And that $600 billion tech spend is about to get a massive injection of agentic AI, which has led to this huge new estimate for cost savings.
It's ballooned. I mean, just last year, the estimates for savings were in the, $200 to $340 billion range.
Yeah, now.
Now, with how fast agentic AI is evolving, the central scenario estimate for cost savings across the whole industry is a staggering $700 billion.
$700 billion. Now, logically, you'd think that's just a huge windfall for banks.
Yeah.
But the warning here, and I think this is so important for you listening, is that it won't just turn into $700 billion in new profit.
Not even close.
Yeah.
And that's because of the competitive squeeze. This isn't happening in a vacuum. Most of that value, that $700 billion, is going to be competed away. It's going to end up in the customer's pocket.
How?
Think about friction. AI radically reduces the friction in every customer interaction. And lower friction means lower customer inertia.
It's easier to leave.
So much easier.
Mm.
When an AI agent can help you switch banks or credit cards or sweep your deposits to a different account for a slightly better rate instantly, well, the profit pools that banks have relied on for decades start to erode very, very quickly.
So if AI makes it frictionless for me to choose a bank, my bank has to pass on its savings to me just to keep my business. Where is that profit erosion going to hit the hardest?
High margin, high competition areas. So places like North American credit card lending or European deposits. The projections are that those profit pools could be hit by as much as 30%.
30%.
And the net effect of all that competitive pressure is pretty severe. The prediction is that industry-wide ROTE could drop by a percentage point or two.
Which could push it below the cost of capital for a lot of banks.
For many of them, yes. Which basically means if you aren't aggressively adopting AI, your shareholders are literally losing money by investing in you.
It just forces the industry to polarize then.
It's a classic winner-take-all scenario. The AI pioneers, the ones who really managed to reinvent their operating models, They could see their RT increase by up to 4 percentage points. But the laggards, their ROTI will decline as their costs stay high and their margins get crushed by hyper-efficient competitors.
That intense pressure means that people have to adapt just as quickly. If entire workflows are changing and entry-level jobs might be shrinking, what does that upskilling even look like?
It's a complex, segmented problem. You can't just have one training program for everyone. We're seeing 4 really critical categories emerge. First, you have the entire employee base. They just need basic literacy. What can these models do? What can't they do? What are the risks? How do you write a good prompt?
The fundamentals?
The fundamentals. Second, you have the technologists. They need upskilling on all the new frameworks for building and securing these new agentic systems.
And what about the data scientist? Their whole job seems to be changing.
It's a dramatic shift. They're moving away from building models from scratch and more towards being systems designers. Their job is now to design, evaluate, and optimize these huge end-to-end probabilistic systems that use multiple third-party models.
So they're becoming orchestrators.
Great way to put it. And the last category is leadership. Executives and business leaders need training on how to lead these cross-functional teams that are trying to completely reimagine how the business actually works.
And this reimagining is creating entirely new kinds of jobs, too. The idea of the prompt engineer is already evolving.
It is. It's evolving into what they're calling the context engineer.
Context engineer.
This is the person whose job it is to make sure the AI system gets all the context, all the institutional knowledge, all the historical data it needs to make an accurate and safe decision. It's about curating the AI's diet, basically.
Which leads to another new role.
It does. Knowledge management. This is moving from being a sort of back office administrative task to a real bona fide job family. These people are focused on structuring all of the company's knowledge so it's actually digestible for an AI.
So the AI doesn't make a huge mistake because it got bad information.
Precisely.
Now, this focus on these new sophisticated roles sounds great, but we have to talk about the data on the other end of the spectrum, the shrinking entry-level pipeline.
And this might be the biggest long-term structural problem. Data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics and from ADP Payroll shows that AI is having a, quote, real, albeit modest, effect on early career workers.
How modest?
Well, Stanford researchers found that workers between 22 and 25 in the fields most exposed to AI think customer support, some software engineering roles, they saw a 6% decline in employment from late 2022 to mid-2025.
6%. So if those entry-level roles, which have always been the apprenticeship pipeline where future leaders learn the ropes, if those are being automated away, how do you train your future senior managers?
That is the 10-year ticking time bomb of a question. It seems like a leadership crisis just waiting to happen. Firms are going to have to consciously design new ways to apprentice people, ways that bypass the jobs the AI is now doing.
A transformation this big, this fast, it's also going to create a whole new set of risks. As these tools get more and more autonomous, what are the big threats that banks are bracing for?
There are a few categories. You have the familiar security stuff just on steroids. Shadow IT is a huge one.
And so employees using public AI tools.
Right, using consumer-grade AI and accidentally pasting insensitive company data. Then there's malicious use, which is exploding AI-powered spear phishing, deepfakes, CEO fraud where they clone voices.
It's getting very sophisticated.
Frighteningly so.
Yeah.
And then for any AI that faces the customer, you need these incredibly robust customer-facing guardrails. Often they're using a second AI model just to monitor the first one to make sure it doesn't give legal advice or an inappropriate opinion.
But when we talk about agentic systems, the ones that act on their own, the risks must be totally different.
They are. The JPMC leaders pointed to 2 big agentic trust problems. The first is access management and entitlements.
Meaning what the agent is allowed to do.
Exactly. If an agent can access systems and apps and even talk to other agents all by itself, you have to completely overhaul your identity and access framework to make sure it only has the exact permissions it needs for one specific task. Nothing more.
And the second problem gets right to the heart of trust.
It does. It's the auditing autonomy problem. Think about it. When an agent runs a long cascading series of analyses and makes decision after decision, all independently, it becomes almost impossible for a human to go back and trace that whole chain to verify the final output was trustworthy.
We audit single transactions today. Tomorrow, we have to audit a whole chain of machine decisions.
A chain that happened with no human input.
It seems like the biggest risk then is us. It's that we, the human managers, just start to let our guard down.
That is exactly it. As these models get to 85, 90, 95% accuracy, the human tendency is to just stop reviewing them critically. The future skill, they suggest, is learning how to manage AI systems.
Like a person.
You have to treat the machine like a high-performing, but still fallible, colleague. A colleague that needs oversight and management. In a way, AI makes everyone a manager.
So we've covered a ton of ground here. We've seen the viral opt-in adoption of the LLM suite, this critical dual strategy of capturing value, and the brutal reality of a $700 billion competitive squeeze that's coming for the entire banking industry.
And we saw the rise of the context engineer and this huge structural problem of a shrinking apprenticeship pipeline for future leaders.
The real insight, I think, that's woven through all of this is that the biggest challenge isn't the tech itself anymore. It's the management layer.
It really is. If organizations now have to change their audit, their management, their trust frameworks to handle these autonomous machines as if they were colleagues, what does it really mean for the nature of human leadership?
And that's the thought we'll leave you with to ponder. When the machine is no longer just a tool, but an autonomous colleague, how does the organizational chart and the very idea of command have to fundamentally change? Thanks for diving deep with us.
My pleasure.